2 days ago, Anthropic Labs launched Claude Design, a new tool that allows you to do beautiful visual work like designs, prototypes, slides, one-pagers, etc. In this video, I'm going to do an in-depth review of the tool and compare it with the other ways of creating presentations right inside Claude. So this is going to be a comprehensive video and it'll give you some very interesting insights about this tool. So please watch this till the end. I'm Ram Gopal from presentationprocess.com. We help you present your ideas better. Let us jump right in. Claude has been my go-to LLM for many months now, and I've always been a big fan of Claude Cowork and Claude Code. So when they launched Claude Design, I was quite curious to know how the tool would help me create better presentations. I was even more curious to know how the new tool would compare with the existing ways of creating presentations right inside Claude. If you don't know that Claude can create presentations for you, first I will touch upon that so you can compare the output with the new way of creating presentations using Claude Design. So first let me tell you how you can create a presentation deck right inside Claude in the current environment. The first thing you need to do is to give your prompt here in the chat window and ask it to generate a slide-by-slide outline for the presentation topic. I did that and I copied that output for you and I pasted it right inside the chat window again just for the demonstration purpose, and I asked Claude to create a presentation deck right inside Claude based on the slide-by-slide outline, and this was the output. As you can see here, this is a beautiful output created entirely using my brand kit, which means the colors used, the fonts used, all belong to my brand design. You can also download this as a PowerPoint. I did that. Let me go to slideshow and show you how the deck looks in the slideshow view. As you can see, the design is brilliant and the topic is covered beautifully, and we have 11 slides here. So this is the simplest and the most direct way of creating your presentations right inside Claude using the chat window. There is another way of creating your presentation deck, and that is by connecting Claude with Canva. I did that, and as you can see, this is the outline. And when I go to 7 more pages, you can see that these are all the slide-by-slide details of the presentation. You can ask it to generate the design, and this is the output. It allows you to open the link right inside Canva. This is the link which is right inside Canva. Let us go to present and show the full screen view. As you can see, there is a beautiful and subtle animation to introduce various elements on the slide. And you can always replace this because this is totally editable right inside Canva. And let us go to the next slide. This is the next slide. But there is something that I want you to notice, and that is the gibberish here. Can you see? It's really annoying sometimes. When you go inside, there is more gibberish here. And this is one of the reasons why I stopped connecting Claude with Canva to generate my presentations. I am not really a big fan of this particular workaround for creating slides inside Canva. I would much rather create my presentations right inside Canva. So this is just for you to understand the different ways in which you can use Claude to create your presentation decks before we jump into using Claude Design. Now, this is the interface for Claude Design. Let me tell you right away that for you to use Claude Design, you need to have a subscription. You need to have either Pro, Max, or Teams subscription for you to access this right now. Eventually, Claude might roll this out for everyone, but for now, for you to try Claude Design, you need to have the subscription. First, let us get a quick overview of the various options available here. You can create your prototype for the app here. So you can have a wireframe view or a high fidelity view for the app. You can create a slide deck. You can create the same slide deck with templates. The templates option is also applicable for creating your prototype or for creating your website, and other allows you to create your web pages here. So there are different ways in which you can use Claude Design for creating visual work. Since we are into presentations, let us go to the slide deck option. The first thing you do to create a presentation is to set up your design system here. You can click on Setup Design System option, and you can write your company name and blurb. And the best thing about the instructions here in Claude is you always have a model answer. So you can always follow the example here in the placeholder, so you know exactly what to write. Let me go here and say presentation process, slide deck design system. Now, there are different ways to build your design system. For example, if you already have a brand kit and you know the exact colors to use, the logos to use, and the fonts to use, then you can add that information directly here which says add fonts, logos, and assets. You can either drag your files here or you can click on browse. Or if you already are working with Figma, you can drag a Figma file here by clicking on this option. Or if you have a code repository on GitHub, you can add that link here because you will be helping Claude to understand your architecture, styling patterns, etc. I can give guidance to Claude by a very simple screenshot of my website. For example, here I can go to Windows Shift S and I can take a screenshot of this and I can save it and I can click on browse and then select that particular screenshot, open, and you can see I have my site screenshot here. That is one way of giving guidance. So Claude knows exactly what fonts and what colors to use. Or the other way is I can go to Claude and I can click here and then get into settings and I can copy the information that is already stored here about my colors and my font, and I can say copy and come here and I can paste it. So there are different ways in which you can feed your information about the design system and the colors to use. Let us go back. Now we have got our design system set up, and you can see I've already created one design system here and there is another system that I added here. Then let us go to the project name. I'm going to compare this project with the existing one that I already have created on the HITL workflow. So let us say HITL workflow, and then I can always add speaker notes if I have one. It is always a good practice. Let me go to create. And here I can add my prompt. Now the prompt is going to be the exact one that I used earlier. This is my prompt, slide by slide outline. Let me say copy, go back here and say paste. And you can see my text is pasted here. The outline is pasted. And there is this option here called add screenshot. And this is quite useful. If you already have, say, a chart or a table that you want included in the presentation, you can use this add screenshot option. You also have the option of attaching a file here to serve as a guidance for you for style elements or for content. For example, you have an existing presentation on a similar subject. You can click on this and attach that file here to serve as a guidance. I'm going to keep it simple and say send. Now you can see that Claude is doing its thing. It is building my slide deck. This process takes about 2 to 3 minutes to complete. And while you're waiting, Claude gives you some interesting tips here. It says, ask Claude to save this as a template. It packages the workflow for reuse. And it also gives you some funny jokes, so you are engaged while you're waiting. And there the presentation deck is ready. Let us go to present and see how the deck looks. This is the cover page. Then we have the definition. Then 5-stage HITL workflow shown. For some reason, there is not much of an alignment in terms of the various elements here. This is shown as a timeline. Let us go to the next one, and this is the stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, stage 5, and then how the various parts are handed off is shown here: full AI, full human, and then HITL. And then this is the rule, and what this means for you is shown here. So that is the presentation. Now, let me give you my honest review of how the deck has fared in terms of the content inside. I see that the presentation created here is very shallow. It is not really as sharp as the presentation created by Claude in the chat window. Let me show you. You can see here, this is the downloaded version. This is the title. And you can see how beautifully it is talked about the problem, the definition, the method, and you can see that there is a perfect alignment here. And stage 1, stage 2, in each stage you can see that the information is analyzed pretty beautifully and every stage is shown nicely, and the comparison, like the way that we showed earlier, is shown here, and this you can see is way better, and this is the rule. And I see that the content here in this deck is way better than the content generated using the design option. So that is my first opinion. Then let us see the editability option here. You can see that there is this option called tweaks. Let me click on this, and this allows me to make an overall tweak in terms of the color pattern. For example, you can see here that the accent color used is this orange color. I can click on this and I can change that. For example, if I want to have this in, say, this green color, I can do so. I can click outside. The same way, the font can also be changed. For example, instead of DM serif display, if I change to DM sans, what happens? You can see the impact is immediate. So you can make universal changes using this tweaks option. Then let us talk about the comment option. This is a very interesting way to make changes to your slide deck. Let me go to the document given by Claude, which tells you what you need to do in terms of inputting your inline comments. It says, inline comments let you click directly on a specific part of the canvas and request a targeted change. This is faster than describing the location in chat. So examples of good inline comments are make this button padding larger, changes to a drop down instead of radio buttons, etc. So when I go here, let me go to a few slides forward and let me show you how that works. Say in this slide, I want to make certain changes. I can go to comment and you can see that that button is now on. I can take my cursor over to any of the elements here and I can make my changes. For example, I go here and I want to change some text. I can write my comment here and I can say include this text instead of whatever is given here and say send to Claude, and that change will be done. So that is how comment works. Next, we have edit. For example, if you want to make certain changes to the elements here on the slide, you can do so. Once again, like the way comment works, you can move your cursor over any of the elements and you can change. Say, for example, I can click on this and all the details related to this particular selected element is shown here. For example, you can see the fill color is this. If I click on this and if I want to change the fill color to something like this, you can see that the change is immediately shown here. So that means you can make changes to any of the elements that you see here instantly. Now, what is the difference between the tweak and this edit option? Tweak allows you to make universal changes, changes that work across all slides, whereas edit is for changing any specific element inside a certain slide. Then we have this option here called draw. Now, draw is the option for you to highlight any certain thing. For example, I can click on my mouse button here and I can draw this. So I can draw the viewer's attention to a specific part of the slide. So that is draw. It is just like the pen tool inside PowerPoint. And then you have the present option. You can show in full screen or you can show only in this tab and all that stuff. And then we have this option called export. You can export this as a PDF or PPTX, or you can send it to Canva. Remember, we did this work before. We linked Claude with Canva and we created our presentation. Now you can work with Claude Design, create your presentation, and you can send to Canva and you can do further editing. So that is the option that is available here. Or you can export this as a standalone HTML, or you can hand off to Claude Code. And this is a very interesting one. If you are familiar with Claude Code and you want to work in that environment, you can click on this hand off to Claude Code. Now all the instructions will be packaged into one pack and then it will be handed off to Claude Code, and then you can work on the same design there. So there are various ways in which you can export this. You can also download this as a project if you want to. And at any point of time, if you want to know what changes you've made and if you want to revert back, you can do so here. You can see that there is this new bar that is added, and whatever changes that you have made here are very clearly shown. For example, I clicked earlier and I made some change to this, and then I clicked on draw and I added something. All of these are very clearly shown here. I can type anywhere to add a note here if I want to. I can close this and I can discard all the changes. So I can say discard. And you can see that the arrow that I drew earlier is removed. So that is how you work with the various elements of the Claude Design's output. Now that we have learned how to edit slides with Claude Design, let us go to export as PPTX, and let me show you what these 4 options mean. This option here called screenshot based PPTX is very similar to Notebook LM. If you remember, Notebook LM gives you slides which are no more than pictures stuck on slides. It is exactly the same thing when you choose screenshot based PPTX. This ensures that whatever you see here on slides is carried over on your slide deck as well. There is this other option called editable universal fonts. Let us see what it says. Substitutes web safe fonts everyone has, best for sharing broadly. Sometimes it so happens that you might be using certain fonts in this slide deck which may not be available in the other computers or other laptops. In such a case, then editable universal fonts is the most recommended option, because now Claude Design will make its judgment to switch some of those unique fonts with universally available fonts so everyone can see the presentation the right way. And if you want to show this in Google Slides, then you can go to editable Google Slides fonts option. And if you are going to show in a laptop where the fonts are already installed, then you can choose editable custom fonts option. So those are the various options available. I'm going to say generate PPTX. It takes its time to download the presentation. Now I want to talk about another option available under share, and that is called as duplicate as template option. You can have this presentation saved as a template. So in the future, if you want to create another presentation following the same template, you can do so quite easily. So that is another beautiful option available in Claude Design. So in conclusion, what is my honest opinion about the slides created using Claude Design? Let us talk about the good things first. I liked the minimal look and feel of the slides. It covers the points and it covers it in a minimal style. And the second good thing is about the editability options available in Claude Design. Compared to Notebook LM, there are quite a few options available for me to edit using inline comments, using the edit button, toggle, etc. So my slide deck can look the way that I want when I design with Claude Design. Now let us talk about the cons in using Claude Design for creating presentation slide decks. Unfortunately, I feel that there are a few more cons than pros in using the Claude Design for presentation creation. The first one is about the use of visuals. Maybe I have not created enough number of slide decks to comment upon this properly, but then in how many ever times that I have created using different prompts, I've seen that the visuals creation capability of Claude Design is not really up to par yet. It is purely a text-based slide creation engine. Now, the reason why I feel a bit disappointed with this is if I were to compare the same Claude, the way it can create slide deck natively with just a chat in the chat window, it can create a much better visual slide deck compared to the one that Claude Design creates. Now, the second con is Claude Design is available only for people who are on the subscription plan. You need to have at least Pro subscription to be able to use Claude Design. Now, if I am paying something like say $20, and if it is an exclusive product, I definitely demand far more capabilities than the one that are available right now in Claude Design. I'm talking only about the presentation creation capabilities. Now, the reason why I say this is, if Claude can give something as beautiful as this in the normal environment with just the chat window, don't you think it is fair on my part to expect something better with a product like Claude Design when it comes to slide deck creation? So I don't think it is definitely value for money, especially for the slide design capabilities of Claude Design. Now, the third con is Claude Design works with Opus 4.7, and Opus 4.7 is a model that guzzles tokens. I'm not saying this, Claude itself says it. You can see that Opus is 67% more expensive than Sonnet per token. And not only that, it can produce up to 35% more tokens for the same input cost, which means your real bill per request can go up even though the rate card did not. So that means that this model guzzles tokens and it is pretty expensive to create your slide deck. And the fourth con is that there is a limitation in terms of how many tokens you can use for Claude Design per week. And if you actually work with Claude Design for creating slide decks, maybe after 2 or 3 attempts, you can see that the usage limit is already finished. So that means for someone who is into creating slide decks regularly, Claude Design may not be the right place for you to work with your presentation deck creation. Now, that said, I'm not dismissing Claude Design completely. It might be a wonderful tool for creating other designs, like say a prototype or for creating web page, etc. Probably it can give a much better output than other tools that you normally use. But I can only comment on the presentation creation capabilities of Claude because that is my domain. And there is one more thing I want to say before I finish this presentation, and that is I have full faith on Anthropic. They have the ability to take anything from A to Z in almost no time. Claude Design is a wonderful tool with immense potential. I'm sure in the next few months, they will add even more capabilities to Claude Design and make it a tool that is definitely worth subscribing to for creating presentation slide decks. But for now, in the way it is, I don't really think that it is the best tool for you to create your presentation slide decks. So that is my honest opinion. I've seen a number of creators on YouTube praising Claude Design for its slide design capabilities. Maybe they have seen things that I have not seen. Maybe I have not worked with the program as extensively as they have done. But this is the opinion of someone who understands presentation and who has worked with Claude Design the way that a commoner would work. And the opinion that I shared is what I feel personally. If you want to see more videos on AI presentation tools for creating your next presentation, I will leave a link to the next video right now on your screen. You can click on the link and watch that video next. I'll see you inside that video.